Hi everyone, it's Charlie Webster here. Thanks so much for joining My Sporting Mind. I hope you're enjoying the series so far as I chat to sports stars about their mindset and mental health. Season 2 is proudly supported by sportinglife.com, providing sporting opinion, debate, and analysis for over 160 years. Today we're heading to Jamaica. Wish we actually were, and I actually was. Well, we kind of are. I'm super excited to welcome British 100 and 200 meter sprinter Zharnel Hughes to the podcast, and definitely a name to keep your eye out for in Tokyo. Welcome along. My
Thank
traditional
you for
clap.
having me. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So come on then, we can see if anybody's watching, maybe they're listening through the podcast, but I can see that you're sat in your house. But can you paint a picture for us, for those that of us maybe not in Jamaica?
Well,
What's it like at the moment?
right now it's quite windy and very hot in Jamaica. It's beautiful still. It's quite the clouds are quite clear and everything. So Jamaica is beautiful right now. I'm enjoying myself. Every day sunshine. So I'm grateful for that.
Thanks for that. Let's move on. No, it was great to hear that. So, what, in a serious note, though, what's it been like in terms of the uncertainty around training and competition at the moment for you?
Well, for now, I'm actually getting to train pretty good. We haven't had any hiccups so far. In regards to competition, competition's a bit laggy right now. We're still
Yeah.
waiting for some clearance from the government to say whether or not we are able to compete. So far, we've been doing a lot of time trials and training, gearing up for the outdoor season. But as I said, training hasn't had any hiccups so far, and keep my fingers crossed it remains that way because last year was quite painful, knowing that we started such a hard season, well, preparation for the season, and then by the time March came around, everything went just went tumbling down.
How did you cope with that, knowing that you were on track to head to the Olympics in Tokyo? And the fact that also when you were training for Rio, you were injured, so you didn't compete in Rio because actually the Tokyo Olympics will be the first Olympics that you've competed in.
Yes. It was quite difficult because at the end of it, like you mentioned, 2016 was a year I got injured, sadly. And I was really geared up for this Olympics. And to know that the preparation that I've been putting in towards the Olympics, everything was on par. This year still is on par this year. But I mean, leading up to the Olympics, I was mentally in a great space, physically as well. Training was going accordingly. I was just ready to compete. And the first couple races I ran, which was early February, which was the Gibson Relays and the Camperdown Classics here in Jamaica. I ran the 400 meters and I ran a pretty good time. And then the relays came about. So the times that I was splitting on the relays, it showed that I was in really good speed going in towards Tokyo. But it was difficult knowing that all the preparation that went in was just going back down the drain, and then I had to sit out. But at the same time, I tried to maintain fitness, and I didn't call things off until late August. So my coach was just keeping us up with time trials. Um, I found an open field nearby where I live, and I took up two of my training partners, and I got them to come along with me because the guys were quite relaxed. And I was like, I can't sit down for too long not doing anything. So I need to find a way to go out there and get myself fit. So I found myself to an open field. I kept doing 60-meter shuttles every day, just to stay fit. I had my therapist came to my place, and we did a lot of exercises just to keep everything in shape going into the next season.
Yeah. Do you think that helped you mentally as well? Like you said, where it's like, oh, you can't just sit still and do nothing. It's not who you are. It's not what you do.
Yeah, most definitely, it definitely helped me because, like I said, I can't stay still for too long. And
Mm.
for instance, if I miss training for 2 days, I feel as if I lose the wall. I feel like I've given my competitors too much ahead of me, so I always try to catch back up.
Mm.
And for me, staying on top of things is the way I live. I make sure I go according to plan. I have everything written down. I have great communications with my coach and my therapist and the rest of my team. So for me, I'm always on the go,
Mm.
and I like to keep busy. So sitting down for so long during the pandemic was distraughting.
So going to the what you said about planning and writing down, I can
Yeah.
relate. I'm like that too. Do you write down what your day is? Do you plan your goals? Do you have it written down? Is that something that you have to keep focused on your goals and then your major goals within that, if that makes sense.
I don't write down every day, but I try to write like the week before something comes up. So in my head, I know I have this to do, I have that to do, and I usually have daily reminders on my phone. For instance, in the morning time, I might get up, read that, okay, you have gym. I want to hit this amount of weights, PB today. Say, for instance, we have something at the track coming up, like a time trial at the end of the week. I will gear myself up accordingly. So Monday and Wednesday will be hard days in the gym, and when comes Friday, everything will like slow down, and that way I'm already sharp enough to
Mm.
compete for the time trial. So I try to plan out my things, and it's been working out well for me thus far, and it's just a regime of mine.
You
Yeah.
work with your coach, Glen Mills, right? Who also
Yes.
coached Usain Bolt. And I've read so much. I've read various different interviews that you've done and watched them, and there's like always, and I think it must be something that always happens, right, in the sprinting world where you get compared to people. What's it like
Yeah.
working around that ilk, I suppose, and also his reputation is for being relentless, right, and was relentless with Usain. So yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what it's like for you.
Coach
You're
Mills is
smiling.
yeah, Coach Mills is a phenomenal person. He's very grounded. He's very serious in regards to getting serious work done. Um, Working with Coach Mills has been a joy. He's this type of person. He instills that you get the technical attributes done correctly. So definitely think that's the reason why Usain ran the way he ran so quickly, because Coach Mills drills it into your head. Like, you have to get your foot under your center of balance, keeping low in the dry phase, and when you get upright, it's important to stay relaxed, keep the shoulders down. And I definitely think he sees little traits of Usain within me, and I think that makes him exciting, and it makes me exciting as well, because he sees that I have the great potential. And working with Coach Mills, I'm really happy with him. He keeps me in a great mental space as well, because we just don't always talk about track. We talk about career after post track and field, and just keeping the mind relaxed, because he's always talking about the mind. Everything for Coach Mills is about the mind.
Right. Okay.
He drills that in you in training, and sometimes I go to his house and we just sit down and have a drink and just talk. Like, Coach, what am I leading up to? What are your plans for me? And how do you see me? Are we in the right place? On what times do you wish for me to achieve, and stuff like that. So I definitely think working with Coach Mills is a blessing for me, because he's got Olympic gold medals and world champions, world records, and everything you can name it. Coach Mills is just a phenomenal person, just to top it off.
There's two things I want to pick up on that I was writing when you were talking, so I didn't forget. You said about you saying there's traits that he sees. What are those traits in you?
Oh well, for instance, my height. Um, Usain is 6'5". I'm 6'4". The way we push out of the blocks, we both tend to get out a little slower than other people do. Um, in regards to the way I run, I'm quite fluent, like you say. My strides are quite long as well. So I definitely think that's just the little things that he sees within me.
Yeah, because I mean, I love track. Like, I absolutely love it, and it is interesting watching. So I remember being at 2012, and I watched Johan Blake and then Usain Bolt, and the difference in like the height and the
Yeah.
stride and the way they take off is incredible. And there's that famous race, isn't there, where Usain was like so far behind off the blocks and then just came over
So,
everyone.
yep.
The other thing I want to write, and it is interesting that you're also that height, which I think is quite unusual, isn't it, for a 100-meter runner?
Yeah.
I mean, you do 200 as well, yeah. The other thing I wrote down is circled is like you said, he's all your coach is all about mental space, like about the mind. I wonder
Okay.
if you could expand a bit more on that, how important it is for you to be in that right frame of mind, whatever that means in competition, but also in training in this period now.
So for instance, in regards to training, Coach Mills is the type of person where, for instance, we have a step down program. That includes 300s, 250s, 200s, 150s, just to name a few. He will tell you the week leading up towards the workout, try to set your mind in the right place in regards to not overthinking too much. You are mentally prepared in regards to when you get to the line, you know what to do, you know how to execute. Because we've been running since background training. So it's not like we can't run the times. So he's always talking about once your mind is in the right place, once you get to the track, you have what you call muscle memory. He's always talking about that. And he's always saying, once you do this
Yeah.
routine on a daily basis, it becomes a part of you. So for instance, when you just get to the line, you just tap in basically and you're there. And once you know you put in the preparation leading up towards the games, the trials, or whatsoever, it's already a part of you. It's just for you to just tap in and stay relaxed, believe in yourself. He's always talking about self belief. You can actually say that. He's always talking about self belief and how the mind is the computer of the body and it tunes everything. Once the mind isn't on, then you won't train the way you want to train. And he said training is not just about the physical attributes, it's a lot to do with mental aspects. And he's always saying that, you know, whatever the central computer processes, that's what you get out.
Mm.
And he that's what he talks about a lot leading up to races. So for instance, when I'm competing, like for instance at the European Championships when I won, he contacted me. He was asking me, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm good, coach. You sure you're in the right space mentally?" I said, "Yeah, I'm good." He said, "Okay, I don't want you to be on top of social media. That way you get distracted. Just stay in your room, relax, listen to music, watch movies, or call your mother if you wish, and just keep it calm and collected because you're in the right place. You're there mentally, and I know you're there physically. So it's just for you to go out there now when the day comes and execute." And he's always talking about
Mm.
execution. So that's what he works with mentally.
So, in terms of self belief, which I
Yeah,
think is incredibly important in anybody's life,
yeah.
and the key to be able to kind of reach in your potential or feeling good about yourself. What about yourself? Is that self belief always been there? Do you ever doubt yourself?
At times I used to doubt myself, to be completely honest with you. Sometimes I wonder, like, am I going to execute the race the way I wish to execute the race? How am I going to do this? Blah blah blah. But no, I definitely think I'm in a better place. Totally, especially with he always compares flying with athletics. He says to me, "Zharnel, if you can fly a plane by yourself, why can't you just run a race by yourself in your lane?" You know, and he's saying you have full control. Once you sit behind the cockpit of the aircraft, you're the one that's putting the power, you're the one that's steering the aircraft. So it's the same thing when you go to the track. If you believe that you can fly the plane, it's the same way you can execute the races. And I definitely think with that scenario or analogy, it comes intertwined and it works. And now I'm more tuned, I'm more relaxed, and I'm just wanting to compete,
Mm.
especially with the break that we've had during the pandemic. I just want to go out there and compete.
Do you get nervous then?
Nah, I
No,
don't get nervous anymore. I just want to go out there and line up right now, to be honest.
because you seem like quite laid back, and any interviews you've been described before in interviews as like laid back and stuff like that. But I just wondered if you must get some kind of nerves or adrenaline or
Well, according to Usain did say competition is the easy part. It's training that's the hard part, you know.
true.
And we the time trials that we have now, it's quite intense because all of us guys are running really fast. So back then, I would probably get nervous when you're
Mm.
leading up to your first time trials. But when it comes to track and field competition now, and once I know I'm good, then it's just game time.
Mm.
And yes, it's normal to feel a little bit of adrenaline and your heart's racing a little bit, but at the same time, you want to control your mind in regards to you are mentally prepared for this outcome. You know,
Mm.
you don't want to be too drawn up into the situation where the crowd's affecting you, everyone else around you is affecting you, and that time you get timid. You can't react the way you wish to react and stuff like that. So I definitely think adrenaline is good, but controlling your nerves at the same time is important.
It reminds me of we did an episode with Johnny May, who's an England rugby player, and he was saying about like the perfect try is you don't think about it, because if you start to think about it is when you start to
Yeah,
doubt
overthink
yourself.
things. Yeah,
Yeah, can you relate
it's
to that?
true. It's definitely true because I used to do it when I was younger. I used to always think about, I need to get out to the blocks. I know I'm not as fast over the blocks as the other guys. I need to stay low. I need to stay relaxed. And you just start putting extra pressure on yourself, which you don't need.
Yeah.
Because you get to the line, it's like what my mom says, comes what may. You are already prepared for it. So just go ahead and deliver yourself. Yeah.
Comes what may. It's
Yeah.
good
She
advice from your
always says,
mom.
yeah, she always says that, man.
um, Flying. I must pick up on that because you said about flying. For those that don't know, you fly planes,
I do.
actual planes, not little remote control ones. Where did that come about, and does that really help you switch off?
Yeah, it does. Aviation became a part of me back in high school. I have a friend by the name of O'Shea Smith. In science class, we always talked about planes. He's always going. His uncles are pilots as well, so he's always talking about planes to me and bringing magazines and stuff like that. And we used to go to the airport, take pictures of planes, and I've always been interested in flying. And then I moved to Jamaica at the age of 16, and I had a best friend out here by the name of Jarrett Simmons. He was already into flight school, and I used to go to his house and I read his books about aviation. I used to ask him to try on his pilot uniform, and he used to give me his stripes to put on. So I put the stripes on, and like I try to envision myself being a pilot. And I asked him what was the step that he took, and he told me about the cost of flight school and how many years it took him. And one day I just decided, you know what? Well, at 18 years old, I tried to go, and my mom stopped me because she was afraid of planes till this day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's afraid. She's afraid of planes. And once when I became 21 years old, I said to my, "Look, Mom, I know you don't like flying, but it's my dream. I have to pursue this dream." And she was like, "You know what, son? I don't like it, but go ahead." So once she gave me the okay, I was gone, and I signed up for the flight school, and I have a flight simulator set up at my house. So I knew everything what to do inside the aircraft. I just needed to know the ground school aspects. So once I became aware of everything in regards to aerodynamics, how the aircraft works, the engines and stuff like that, it became a part of me. I started reading more about it. I go up on YouTube, Google everything. And when I started flying, the instructor said to me, "Are you sure you're not a pilot?" I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Are you lying to me?" I said, "No, I'm not lying." He said, "Because the way you're flying the aircraft, I've never flown with a student pilot that knows how to control the aircraft the way you do." And he was like, this is gonna become boring to me." I said, "Why you said that?" This was the conversation we were having in the air. I said, "Why you said that?" He said, "Because you already know how to fly. I don't need to teach you anything. The way the aircraft is being handled, I can basically text on my phone because I'm so comfortable with you flying." And in no time, I got my private license. He was like, "It's not gonna take you long because you're so far ahead." And flying to me is such a getaway in regards to when you're on the ground. It's like a total escape mentally as well because when you look down on the scenery, you're seeing the cars moving and you're talking to different pilots on the frequency, just channeling yourself throughout the airways. It's just an amazing feeling, and knowing that you have full control of a flying bird.
Mm. I can see a lot of synergies between athletics and between racing and being up in the sky like that.
Yeah.
And that I can imagine that escapism. What made you, would you ever think about like being a pilot, or was it always athletics? You know, when you
It's
were
always
saying to your mom, I want to fly, what was the point that made you want to compete and have this as a profession?
I've been doing track since I was young. I started tracks at the age of 10 years old. And ever since then, I noticed I was really quick. I used to run against the guys in high school, and it was like jogging against them. And I'm not shaming anyone, but it was like I was in a total different caliber to them. And when I moved to Jamaica and I started competing in Jamaica, and I noticed like I am really fast and running super times like 10, 1, 2 at the age of 18 years old, and then being ranked in the top rankings in the world, I noticed like you have great potential and I want to pursue this and become more serious about it. And at the age of 19, that's when I decided I'll go pro. And from ever since then, I've been stuck with it. But aviation has always been there since high school. Since high school, that passion became more and more into a thing. And then once I got the simulator set up, then it became more of a dream too. So I said, you know what? Besides just doing track and field, why not set yourself up for post track and field after athletics? So I decided I'd pick up piloting because this is something I love. It's something I'm always watching. I have a dying passion for it, so I love both of them.
You can tell. I love like listening to you talk about flying. You mentioned about high school and then starting track and field at 10 years old. You were brought up
Yeah.
in Anguilla. What was it like? And how much has that influenced you? Because that's where your childhood was, which is, just so everybody like knows who's not familiar, it's a small island in the Caribbean. And then that's how you got your British representation, right?
Yes. So in Angola, we don't have a track. Just to put that out there, we don't have a track. We started off on a grass field, and there's a lot of talent down there, a lot of talent, especially when I was growing up. The guys that used to I used to compete against, they used to be like really fast, and I've always wanted to be faster than them. And I think track and field was a part of me because my father, my father's side of the family, they used to be runners, especially my older brother. But it's just that because track and field isn't a big thing back home, and that we don't have a stadium, a lot of students once they get to high school, they fade out from track and
Yeah.
field. So I wanted to see how much faster I can become, and I used to race my father on the beach. And every time we go to this, anytime we go swimming, he'll always want to compete against me on the beach and be like, "Come, let's race, man." So racing with him and other athletes back home, it's has always been exciting. And then my very first time competing for Angola at 10 years old, I got 7 gold medals, and from ever since then, I became much faster. I wanted to see how much faster I can become at a young age because I was running against guys throughout the Caribbean and I was beating them. And after Shar made the switch from Angola to join Team GB, because like I said, Angola doesn't have an Olympic committee as
Yeah.
well, and then things are not going to work out for you once you remain there. I was like, I need to pursue my dream, and my only way out is to run for England. And I was happy with the decision. And once I joined Team GB in 2015, it was just a joy. And the very first time I remember putting on the tracksuit, and the first time actually when I competed there at the trials, I mean I was unknown by anyone, and it was quite scary at the same time because here you are showing up at trials that you never showed up at before, and no one knows you. And I was a bit nervous, but after I won the championships, and then I moved on to Lausanne. That's when I first competed for England, and I won Diamond League at 19 years old. It was surreal, and knowing that I'm now competing for England, and then I went to London to compete at the London Diamond League. And once I got there, everybody knew me this time,
Mm.
and then the stadium erupted when my name was called, and that gave me energy. The race went off. I came first place, ran 20.05 into a negative 1.4 win, and the crowd went bizarre. And that made me excited. And then when I got to Beijing and I got the uniform and everything, it felt like as if I put on a superhero suit because now I'm competing for England and I'm happy, I'm in a great space, and everything was going well. And I was running pretty fast at that age.
I was going to ask you, what was it like when you first ran on a track for the first time? Because you said that there was no track in Anguilla and you ran on a field or on the beach with your dad.
Well, the very first time I ran on the track was in St. Martin, which is the nearby island to Anguilla. This was like 10 years old, and I ran barefooted. I didn't have spikes back then. And I ran the 50 meters, if I can remember. I ran the 50 meters and I ran a really good time, and it felt different. It was bouncy. There wasn't any ditches. I didn't have any shin splints. So I got my first pair of spikes at 11 years old, and I ran in Nevis, ran pretty well there because I definitely think running on the dirt track and then going towards the rubber track, it makes a significant difference because you have somewhat of a drag
Mm,
resistance on the grass, and when you go onto the track, it's more bouncy and more fluent. So
mm.
it was nice and it was always fun. And I definitely think once I started competing on the track, on the rubber track, I wanted to go more because I'm not used to it. So it was fun, and to this day, I still love it.
You were saying about you just, you put that tracksuit on and then you want to go faster, but even as a young age, you were like, I wonder how fast I can be. Is that something that still remains now? And it's like,
Definitely.
you're still really young, and it's like, okay, how fast can I go? How fast can you go?
I definitely think I can run faster than 991. I definitely can run faster than 991. I don't want to put a limit to myself, but I can run 97, 98. I definitely think it's within me. As long as I go out there and get it done correctly, it's gonna come.
You can see that you really believe that.
Yeah.
I wanted to take you back to 2018 because it's really interesting. Whenever I love to read lots about different people whenever I chat to them, especially if I haven't spoken to them before and haven't spoke to you before. And there's so many articles that come up about you in 2018. It's almost like so much happened in 2018. And I wanted, firstly, maybe the first thing I'll ask you to do is just now, when you sat here, we're talking in 2021, what do you think of when you look back to that time? Because so much happened, and how do you reflect back, and what did you learn from that? Sorry, lots of questions within that question.
Well, 2018 was a blessing year. It first started off when I got disqualified at the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm glad
Um,
you brought that up and not me.
yeah, I have to mention because it actually set me up for the rest of the season. So 2018 Commonwealth Games, things got didn't go according to plan, right? That burning desire of not getting that gold medal in the 200 meters, it was a driving force going forward. Um, After I got the goal in the 4x1, I was like, I still feel as if I'm missing something. So I came back to Jamaica and I said to Coach, I want to take on the 100 meters. I want to take on the 100 meters and see how much faster we can go. Let's go for it. He was like, you sure you don't want to run the 400? I said, no, Coach. I don't like the 400. I want to try the 100 because I haven't ran it since high school. And he was like, okay, I'm going to prepare you for it. And came back, the grind was 10 times harder than what I put in leading up towards Gold Coast. Then my first race after Gold Coast was in Boston at the Adidas street race. I ran 995 or 997 on the wooden track. And I was like, wow, you actually ran that time on this platform. When I got back to Jamaica, I was excited because now I'm training with Blake and those guys, practicing for the 100 meters. And once we were doing block starts, I realized I was staying close to Johan Blake and the other guys. And Races Grand Prix came up, and I was feeling energized. I was ready. I was pumped up. My family was there. And I remember calling my mother just before the race and I was like, hey, Mom, I just got to the stadium and I'm feeling good. Are you guys okay? I said, I know you're seated to the front, so I'm going to make sure I run a good race for you tonight. Hang up the phone, started my warm up, and I told my therapist while I was getting stretched and everything, I said to him, look, I'm feeling pretty good, I'm feeling really good. He said, I can tell because your body is feeling really, really fired up. And he said, you're going to run fast tonight. I said, well, let's see. Got out there. I was between, I think, Noel Lyles and some other guy. I can't remember who it was, to be honest. And the stadium was just pumped up, electrified. And I remember knowing that my mother was close by to the finish line. I was like, I'm ready. Race went off, 991. Everything with us went crazy. After that, we led up to the bowling, and we were working on my start. My coach wasn't there, and I remember him sending me doodles of me setting up myself in the blocks. He was setting up doodles of me
To
setting up
follow.
myself in the to
Yeah.
follow, because we were working on my start because I had a little lag start, and we changed up my start like a couple of days before the European Championships. And when I ran the heats and I ran 10:01 jogging, I was like, okay, the start actually worked because from the get go, I was in the lead. And finals came. I remember feeling a cramp in my calf, but I said, you know what? I've worked too hard for this, and things didn't go according to plan in Gold Coast. I'm not letting this one slip away. And I got to the line with my, even though I was in the on your mark set position, my calf was cramping. I could literally feel my calf
Oh my
having
God.
spasms. And the race went off. As I drove out, my calf cramped on me, but I stayed relaxed because remember, the coach said to you, relax, keep the mind relaxed, and everything flows. So I stayed relaxed and I just powered my way through and dipped at the finish line, got the win, and everything was just calm afterwards. I could breathe and I was more relaxed and everything. And I was just grateful for the opportunity.
Mhm.
I was grateful that I ran 9-9 again, championship record. I ran 991 all in the season, and now I'm European champion. So everything just came together at the right moment.
It's so listening to you talk about that, because I was interested in how, because I remember that disqualification. So for those that
Yeah,
don't remember it, you basically touched the arm of somebody who was in the Trinidad and Tobago.
yeah,
I can't remember
dream,
his name.
dream
Richards.
Richards. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that's it. Thank you. And then that's how, and you were on for gold. England was on for gold, and that was a disqualification. And
yeah,
just you talking about it from them, it's everything. It's almost like you feel that because of that, it gave you the drive to go on to do 100 meters and do what you've gone and done.
yes.
And what, in that moment, did you, you kind of said it as in, oh, I came back and I was like, right, I'm going to do 100 meters. And yeah, but was there a moment where you beat yourself up about that initially?
I, yeah, to be honest, the night when I got disqualified, I went back to the dorm and it was devastating. I remember Adam Jamili, Andrew Pazzi, Harry Akins-Ariti. Those guys were my roommates, and
Yeah.
they all gave me a pat on the back and was trying to encourage me to stay calm and not to beat up myself. But at the same time, I worked hard for it, and then to be disqualified, I had to get myself in the mental space again because the next morning was a relays heat, and I stayed up the entire night. I stayed up the entire night, just thinking about how did this happen, and you know, I just tried to get myself prepared again for the next day. The next day I got to the track, I was quite tired, to be honest.
I'm not surprised if you
But
stayed up all night.
my
But how could you have
my
slept anyway if that was going on in your head, you know?
exactly. So I remember my therapist at the time. He was like, "Just try to forget about last night. It's a new day. You don't want to go out there with that bad energy, and you mess things up in the relay." And I was like, "I won't let it happen. I'm gonna get a goal. I have to get something from the Gold Coast to go back home with." And I told the guys, look, just go out there, execute the race, and get the baton around, and we'll be okay. Ran the heats, we got a good time, came back for the finals, and I was pumped up. I said to them, look, we're gonna go home with a gold medal today, regardless of anything. We're getting it. And I told Ruben, he was the starter. I said, Ruben, I'm gonna get up hard. Just get me the baton, and I'll do my part. I did my part. When I handed it over to Kilty, I realized we were in the lead. And Kilty just flew off the bend. Harry just needed to finish it. And Harry took the baton straight home. Go. And we were happy, celebrated, and I felt somewhat of a relief. But like I said,
Yeah.
there was a missing gap because I lost the gold medal the night before. But from there, like I said, that was my driving force the
Mm.
rest of the season.
And also that year, again, you can tell me if you don't want to talk about it. It's
Yeah,
just I
sure.
feel if I don't ask you about it, I'd be doing it you a disservice because especially what we could maybe learn from you in terms of mental health or trauma, because I know that same year, you had a really scary incident where you were in, I'm going to say, in the training car park in Jamaica, where somebody held a gun to you, which obviously I don't want you to talk about if it's going to bring anything up. But I can imagine that was incredibly scary for those that don't know or haven't read about it. Again, I'm just saying it from what's being written. I wasn't obviously there, but somebody put a gun and you ran off and started shooting, and it was somebody who went a bit quite crazy with a gun. It must have been extremely traumatic. Myself, I talk a lot about post-traumatic stress disorder and trauma, which is why I wanted to ask you how you dealt with that, because, I'm sure you're absolutely fine now, but in that moment, it must have been extremely traumatic. And the way that we kind of like react in fight and flight, and that it's not something that you can just forget, right?
Yeah, you can't forget it. But I remember the day when everything happened. I still trained. I still trained. And
You
then
still trained after
when
it?
things happen, yes, yeah, I still trained that day.
Okay.
At first I sat down. I spoke to coach, and he was asking me if I was okay. My adrenaline was through the roof.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, adrenaline was through the roof. We had 150s to run, and I was contemplating: should I train? Should I let the day go to waste? And that was the Tuesday afternoon. I needed to compete on the Saturday afternoon, and I was like, I have a race coming up, and it's gonna be my opening race. I still need to train. I ran a day. I still trained. I did 150s. I ran super fast because, like I said, my adrenaline was through the roof.
Yeah.
But when things calmed down now, later in the evening, um, I was a bit paranoid. Like every time I close my eyes, I can see what happened, and I just try to block it. I try to suppress the entire week. And people was concerned whether or not would I race the Saturday because now I'm gonna hear the sounds of the gun effect
Yeah.
being fired just
Oh,
before the
of
race.
course. Yeah. Whether that trigger
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my coach was asking me, "Do you want to pull out of the meet?" I was like, "No, coach, I want to compete." My therapist was asking me the same thing, and I was like, "Are you okay?" During every second I was warming up, they kept asking me, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I put that behind me. That's behind me now. Today's the day where I compete. Let's focus on that." Race ran off, and I was perfectly fine. And the following week, I was a bit timid going in that training, but
Mm.
it became natural to me after a while. Like, you know what, that's gone behind me. Focus on what's ahead of you now. And
Yeah.
I just put it behind me.
It probably helped you, the fact that you went and trained, because
Yeah,
you could do something with that adrenaline, which obviously comes from any situation where there's fear, and that kind of fight and flight thing kicks in. And the fact that you
exactly.
probably had a focus. You mentioned that you spoke to your therapist. Is that something that you regularly do, and do you think really helpful?
My therapist, when I mean therapist, I'm talking about my massage therapist.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, we have a really good connection. He's like an older brother to me. Um, we do a lot of extra work as well, so he's always around me, and he's very motivational. Sean Kettle is his name. He believes in me, and he's always encouraging me to be better. And he sees that I have great potential of running super times. And sometimes when my coach isn't there, he's the one that's there catching my times,
Right.
and we give coach the feedback. So we have a really good connection, and he's always trying to keep me in a great mental space as well.
Yeah, that's really good, because I think I actually know a therapist like that, and I think he plays such a part with mental health as well, and with mindset,
Yeah,
and not just a
yeah.
body. I think it's all interconnected. Are you a fan of mottos? Because I've got your social media in front of me, and you've got always hope but never expect. And then I know that your primary school motto was inspire before you expire. What do these mean to you? And is that something you're laughing? Is that something that you use, you carry around with you? Because I know some people have phrases which are really important to them.
Yeah. So the primary school one is the one I mostly live by. Um, because a lot of us from that primary school we became successful, and not just track and field, but Shara Proctor went to the same primary school, so
Right.
I'm pretty sure she's aware of that same motto. So it's been instilled in us from we're young that if you want to be successful, you know, go ahead after your goals, but at the end of the day, try to inspire as much as you can along the way. And that's what sometimes I've lived up to. I've always tried to be a positive influence towards the
Mm.
youth. Um, I know a lot of them look up to me. I try to make sure I my content is okay. It's always clean, and I always try to do questionnaires and stuff like that. So, for instance, like when someone wants to do track and field and they don't know how to start, someone would probably reach out to me and I'll send them a DM and let them know. Because at the end of the day, when I was growing up, there was no one doing that,
Yeah.
and I feel as if it's a stepping stone towards a goal. Sometimes you just need someone to say something to you, and I definitely think inspiring the youth of tomorrow can better sports in general. And there'll be more sportsmanship, there'll be more people involved in the sport, and there'll be more people wanting to be like Usain, Zharnel, Adam Jamili, Reese Prescott, just to mention a few names. And I definitely think we're doing a great job of doing that. And
Mm.
I want to do more. And if I can, as long as I live and I'm healthy, then I'll continue to inspire as much as I can.
Was there anybody there for you? You said there wasn't that there, and there wasn't kind of
Yeah,
that person you could DM, which probably was also because social media wasn't really a thing.
yeah.
Who was that for you? Because you talked about your dad training on the beach and racing him, and then you've also talked about your mom and her motto of "Come what may."
Come to
Yeah,
me. Yeah,
yeah.
it was my mom that has been my inspiration. She has always been there for us. She's very down to earth. She is always that person who believes in achieving goals. And when I first started out, like I said, I never used to have a pair of spikes, and she was the one that got me my first pair of spikes. And she was always saying to me, "Son, I know what you want to achieve, and I'm gonna be there to support you." And so, for instance, when I came home from high school in the evening times, I used to have to rush to get back to the park, where I trained. And when I got home, she'll make sure I have my food set up, I have my
Hmm.
water and my Gatorade and stuff set up just for training. And she'll always come to my training sessions and sit down there and watch me train. But she don't watch me now because she don't like to see me suffer. So, so she has always been there. She has always been an inspiration. She's very grounded since she's been growing up. She's been raised that way to be very independent,
Mm.
be very supportive, and I definitely think she passed that down to my brothers and I.
Mm.
And we are very independent, we are self-driven, and we are very ambitious young men.
Mm.
Because I have two younger brothers, and they don't do, they used to do sports, but they don't do it anymore. So they've gone their own path, and
Mm.
I've gone my own path.
So you got three. Is there three of you? Three
Yeah, it's just
boys.
three of us boys. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you said that about your. I mean, your mum sounds amazing. How important do you think it is that men have those role models as well?
Um,
You said
I
about the
definitely
three of you, and you want to be a positive male role model.
yeah, I definitely think men should be a part of the young boys and girls as they grow up, because we need that gap to be filled.
Mm.
Sometimes it's quite hard on a mother to fill both roles of a mother and father. And I know some fathers might think it's a bit soft by encouraging the youth, but we actually need it.
Mm.
It's quite hard on the mother at times, because if you take into consideration the whole process that a mother has to go through. She carries us from birth, the pain that she goes through, and raising us up, making sure you go to school, getting all the essentials, and still have to play another role of being a father by supporting you because to me, I think a father plays a more of a mental aspect than the mother, because the mother is more of an emotional side. Yes, she shows love and affection, but at the same time, you need grounded, how should I put it? Guidance to, like, life is set up this way. It's gonna be hard at times. It's not always about bed of roses and stuff like that. So I definitely think fatherhood is very important in regards to sports, because sometimes like women think more of the emotional side in regards to, for instance, when I have to compete, my mom tries not to say too much because she's afraid that she might say something too much that might throw me off. So my father would come in and be like, "Son, look here, just go there and race. You're you're gonna be
Just do
fine.
it.
Just do it. Just go ahead. You're prepared. I'm gonna be tuned into the TV. I'm gonna be there watching you, and I know at the end of the day, I'm gonna be proud of you. And that helps.
Hmm.
Sometimes my mother, to be honest, to this day, my mother doesn't watch my races live. She
Really?
prefers to watch. She prefers to watch the replay because she's too nervous. When I brought my mom out here to watch me compete in Jamaica, my mom, she told me the story afterwards. She was like, "I didn't see the race. I didn't see the race." I was like, "What do you mean you didn't see the race?" She was like, "I had my head down the entire time, and someone told me you won the race." I was like, "Are you serious?" And she was like, "Yeah, I do it every time you compete. I can't watch the race when you're competing because I'm too nervous. I always prefer to watch the replay." I
That's
was like,
so
"Yeah,
funny that she
yeah."
sat there with her head in her hands and didn't
She
even
watched her
watch.
race. She watches the race like this until somebody tells her, "Yeah, he won the race."
And then
Every
just
every
like,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
um, on that note, could you describe to us, if you can, what it's
Yeah.
like to run 100 meters? Because I think the 100 meters is the thing that, well, it's the marquee event, right? The 100-meter
Yeah.
final in Olympics. It's the one that everybody wants to go for. Um, we all watch it. What is it like? Do you think about anything? Because it's so quick.
Yep. Coach Mills again. This is where Coach Mills comes in. Coach Mills, he's always saying 100 meters is not 60 meters. So, for instance, I won't get out as quick as everybody else, but that doesn't mean the race ends at 60. After 60 meters, you have 40 meters, which am very strong at because of my 200 meters. Um, so what I try to do when I'm competing in the 100 meters, I just try to execute my very first 5 steps because that's crucial to me because I'm being tall. My frequency isn't as quick as the other guys. So I try to stay within, I try to get my first 5 steps correct. Sometimes that can be thrown off because sometimes your first 2 steps are okay, but your third step you might collapse a little bit. So Coach Mills is always drilling in you to get your foot on the center of balance. So that means getting your hips forward, positioning your ankles in the dorsiflex position. That way you strike back the ground correctly, and you keep your head neutral as possible. Because if your head moves too much, then it throws off your hips. And he's always like talking about swinging your arms at 90 degrees to get the full power and getting that power line. Because once the power line's okay, executed correctly, everything falls into play. And once you get to 30 meters, you gradually come up with your dry phase. It's like he's always complaining to aviation as well. He said when the pilot powers up the aircraft, he doesn't pull back the yoke instantly. You have
Mm.
to wait until the
Gradual.
aircraft builds up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to build up and then you rotate. Rotate means take off. It's the same thing as when you're running. You gradually build up and you patiently comes out your dry phase. That way you get a smooth transition and things will go according to plan. You get upright, stay relaxed, shoulders down, head is neutral, knees lifting at 90 degrees, and you just flow towards the finish line. But the 100 meters, you can't make any errors. And that's the thing about it.
Mm.
Everything has to be very precise. And that's the way we're training. He tried to break things down like every Thursday or Friday, we probably do it. So, for instance, like today, we probably might walk on the first 10 meters of the race. And then Friday, we'll walk on the transition and the top end part of the race. So, those are the things that we try to tweak on.
Yeah, it's the fact that it's all broken down,
Yeah.
into bits to then make a whole. So what would advice would you because I feel like I'm sat in the pitch dark now. Can you see? um
Yeah, I can still see.
and the fact that you got to go training. What advice would you give to young athletes? Because you mentioned a bit earlier about wanting to be that inspiration.
Yeah. Well, for me, I will always tell them, at times things might not always go your way in regards. So you might just start out track and field, you do your first race and you lose. I lost many times, and use that as a lesson. I
Mm,
don't, for instance, me losing a race is a lesson. It only makes you better. It only makes you more hungry to be successful.
mm,
And what I'll tell you is to stay driven. And once you have that self belief that you can become the person that you wish to become, stay grinded, stay patient because patience is very important. It's something that I've always tried to tell myself. And believe in regards to God. Um, Sometimes you want things to be done your timing. You know what I mean. You want
I
things to
know
be
what you
done
mean.
so
I'm
instantly.
exactly like that.
Yeah, you want things to be done right away,
Yeah.
but sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
No.
God has plans for you that in your time things will come manifest for you. And to me, I'll tell you, stay inspired, stay grounded, have patience, and have
Mm.
that self belief that one day your day will come.
I really like that you brought up patience. I don't think it's talked about enough. It's something that I definitely had to learn a lot about,
Yeah.
because I'm very of that personality, and I think
Okay.
it's something that has really helped me to understand patience. So thank you for bringing it up. Final question for
No
you
problem.
then. What
Yeah.
advice would you give to anybody that's struggling a little bit at the moment, and
In
things that
regards to the
maybe have
whole
helped you?
pandemic and everything.
Yeah, just in life, like that's maybe finding things tough at the moment, things that have helped you mentally. And we've talked a lot about your relationship with your coach and mindset, but just anything that's really helped you um at
Well,
all, I suppose.
what I do right now during this pandemic, besides training, I find other things to do in regards to, yes, I love aviation. So I'm always on my simulator. I try to better myself in regards to making communications easier, understand how aircrafts work. And so what I'll tell you during this time, try not to dwell too much on the whole situation. Yes, the whole world is facing a pandemic. There's nothing that we can really do about it.
Mm,
At the end of the day, it's like you're stuck in a dark tunnel, but just know that you won't be in the dark tunnel forever. At some point you will see the light. And I'll tell you, just be patient and try to try to be around people that has that positive energy.
mm,
Try not to dwell too much on the negative. For instance, again, the news can be
mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
so tiring, man. That if you constantly read the news about the pandemic, and everything that's happening around the world, it makes you feel stressed out. It
Yeah.
draws you down, and try to be around people who will uplift you, give you that energy that you need. Try to play like a game or read a book. Um, do things that makes you happy. For instance, during the pandemic, I started baking more.
Did you?
I started baking more with my girlfriend. We do lots of cakes and stuff like that. That's when I went off season.
I was gonna
Let me
say,
just
were
put
you
that out
allowed
there.
to eat them?
Yeah, yeah. This was during off season. We did a lot more baking, a lot more cooking and stuff there. So it makes you enjoy something that you don't usually do,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it takes away all the stress that's going on. So try not to get caught up in everything.
Yeah.
Just let low at times because I'm quite chilled. That's just how I've been. I've always been chilled, laid back, and I'm always trying to be positive.
Mm.
I like scented candles as well, so I am always burning my scented candles and having a vibe, listening to music, and play games.
I think
Yeah,
that's a really, yeah. Sorry, go on.
that's the way I
That's,
cope. That's the way I cope with it, and
yeah.
so far it's been okay.
Yeah, I think that's really good because you obviously give a lot of, I don't know, care to yourself and time,
Yeah,
I think, which is important, whether
you
it's,
definitely need
yeah,
time for yourself.
yeah,
Because some people get so caught up in the wall that I need to do this, I need to do
yeah,
that, and then at the end of the day, you're not happy because you're always chasing after something. What about yourself?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
you need time. You need time for yourself.
I'm like, yes,
So
yes.
and
Just because
the
I think
little
that's
times,
really, I was just
yeah,
gonna
the
say,
little
just because
times
I
that
think
you,
that's really important.
yeah, the little times that you spend with yourself and get to understand who you are,
Mm.
what makes you happy, you become so peaceful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I really agree. And I think that chasing that thing all the time, which ultimately, whenever you chase it, you might get it, and then you've got to chase the next thing, and then you're never
exactly.
happy anyway.
It's
Yeah.
on the go.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing talking to you, Zharnel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I wish you so much luck in training. Fingers crossed for the Olympics. And I can't wait to watch you and go and smash all those records as well.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Thank you. Maybe get to Jamaica sometime. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Don't forget to subscribe and check out our other episodes as well, including with Morgan Lake, Tom Bosworth, and loads more. Remember to visit sportinglife.com ahead of the rest when it comes to unbiased opinion and sports analysis. And there is help if you're really struggling. Charities such as mine, the Samaritans, and Sporting Mind are just a phone call or email away. And people do want to help and do understand. You can also text shout to 85258 if you don't want to talk on the phone. And remember self-care and taking time for yourself.
Important.
Take care, and we'll speak again very soon.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.